Ooh, man. Time to get ready for this morning show. That's some good stuff. All right, let's see. I got my toilet paper there. Cool. Did not bring that myself. I got my toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, hair gel, Q-tips. Okay. I'm not seeing my shampoo though. Where did I bring my shampoo? Dang. Should I even have to think about bringing shampoo when I go to a vacation rental? Do I even need to bring conditioner, soaps? Are these things that people actually bring to their vacation rentals? Oh, the answer is no? Why? Oh, that's why. Because Sojo. Sojo is your dynamic, automatic amenity delivery company that partners with vacation rentals to make sure that I don't have to bring my body wash and my conditioner all at once. Who would have thunk? Not me. Definitely wasn't me.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Nothing quite like seeing you in a robe to get the Monday morning going.
It's the only and best way to get the Monday morning going. That and coffee, in my opinion.
I'll agree with the latter.
Coffee. Yeah. Coffee's great. Jamie Lane, welcome back. How you doing, my friend?
Thanks. It seems like I was just on. What was that, 2 weeks ago? And back again.
Yeah. We do it once a month, but we had a little travel period where I think we have not only Brandy in Tel Aviv, but pretty much the rest of the industry is in Tel Aviv right now for the Guest Eval conference. So figured it was a good time to get you back on.
Yeah, excited to be here and see you guys out in Barcelona.
Yeah, a couple weeks or what? A week away. Next week.
Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, 1 week from today, Will, you'll be on a plane.
I'm not ready. I'm truly not ready. No, but it's good to get back together. It's going to be great to have the GMH crew together, all at once, not just three of us or two of us, where it's been in the past. So again, very excited. We'll get some good content and pictures and selfies, all that good stuff.
Keep your robe on, Will.
Oh, I will. Well, we have an exciting topic for today. I know we're going to cover a lot, but before we jump in, for any of the live viewers and our listeners, we have obviously partnered up with Sojo, and not only can you get amenities for 30 days for free with Sojo using our link, but you can also connect them and integrate with Track. If you're a Track user, shout out to TravelNet for being a sponsor and partner of the show as well. You can get your amazing property management software and your amenities technology taken care of all in one shop. So make sure you check out the link in the show notes. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the GMH crew. We would love to help and connect you with anyone at these companies and these teams. They're all amazing people as they love the industry as much as we do. So just a big shout out for our sponsors today. But now for the exciting topic, which is going to be one, we're seeing AI everywhere in the news today, as probably a little bit more than what we've seen in the last maybe couple of months, 2 or 3, give or take. And also, shout out to David and Gotti. We saw that David's company StaySense was acquired by Guesty right before this episode, like last week, like Thursday, Wednesday, one of the two.
Smartest man in vacation rentals. I stand by it.
Yeah. Great purchase and acquisition on the Guesty team. But yeah, great, exciting news in the acquisition department. Anything on your guys' radar before we jump into today's conversation with AI, Airbnb, Booking, Expedia, all that good stuff?
Yeah, one quick thing. The end of resort fees may be here. Marriott announced their no longer hiding resort fees. I don't think that's by their choice. They were mandated by law. Nice little PR spin by Marriott, but ultimately good for the consumer. We all want to know the all-in price. Getting caught, showing up at the door with an extra $50 a day added. I don't know if you guys are as cheap as me, but that really pisses me off. So good on whatever. I won't give government many props often, but in this case, good on them for forcing their hand.
I'm in the same boat.
And then also from the Marriott Hilton calls, both brands sort of announcing or hinting at a new low-priced economy extended stay brand. So, and really not necessarily leaning into alternative accommodations, but of people want to stay longer. They're going to be very cost conscious going forward, and announcing new product to satisfy that. I thought was interesting.
One question for Jamie on last week's one of the topics. What's your thoughts on Hyatt's acquisition of Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I think, like many of you guys, I had not heard of Mr. and Mrs. Smith prior to the acquisition, so I was a little embarrassed about that.
All right, so no
myself.
Thoughts about it.
But in terms of getting their product in front of the eyeballs of especially higher end customers that maybe like the product that Hyatt has. It looks like they have great boutique hotel supply, a lot of independent hotels that and maybe only distribute through them, or one of the few OTAs that they distribute through. So maybe getting some unique supply distribution sort of follows in very closely with what we see with some of the other OTAs like Airbnb and Vrbo, of how can they have unique supply that's only on their platform, is something every OTA is looking at.
Yeah. Well, to go to the brand piece, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little disappointed as a Marriott guy and a Bonvoy guy. City Express, really? That's the name of the brand, and the logo sucks. Like I'm big on brand, so sorry for anyone at Marriott who's listening, but man, it was just like, this is not them, in my opinion. They're not a lower end budget. Like, this seems like a IHG or even a Choice move, in my opinion. So yeah, that's just my thought, but I don't know. I'm not going to be staying at a City Express. That's for sure.
But just remember, Will, that this is an acquisition outside of the U.S., and brands are not as big outside of the U.S. as they are in the U.S. And so to be able to build off the brand loyalty or even any sort of brand standards is something that is going to start happening more and more globally, I expect. And that this is the brand as they bought it, and not as it'll be sort of once they get their hands on it.
Good point. I will ease back on the throttle after that comment. That was very, very well said, Jamie. Very well said.
Well, speaking about throttles, the pre-call prep started to get a little heated with our debates on how AI is applicable in travel. Every one of the OTAs mentioned it last week, so it'll be curious to air and show all of our hands, aside from the pre-call discussions that clearly we are not all on the same page. I think the biggest piece that I saw that was very interesting was Brian Chesky saying that basically their whole team has done a landscape of all the companies that are built on the short-term rental landscape, the ecosystem. That's the word I was going for.
Oh yeah.
But they said it's all the companies built on Airbnb's back. I'm going to disagree with that. It's built on the backs of Booking, Expedia, and Airbnb. But they're looking at how AI can start taking out some of that ecosystem, and how they might be able to use AI to make it easier to partner with others in the ecosystem. So I want to pause there and lob that to Jamie on that specific statement. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think on that statement, he was getting more to the acknowledgement of the ecosystem, the value in the ecosystem. Essentially, and there's 300 companies that have built $100 million businesses. Like you just look at Guesty having their guest file conference and what their recent valuation is at, and this sort of ecosystem that they've just built for their users. I think back to a recent interview I think I heard with Andrew McConnell, where he got in and it was hospitality is hard. And the ecosystem that's out there is trying to make it easy. And ML AI is a big part of that and how the system's evolving. And there's going to be some things I think Airbnb is going to try to do themselves. And we've seen how well they've been able to do some of those things themselves, aka pricing, aka guest communication, and where it's really opened up an entire ecosystem to solve those problems better. But what I'm really hoping from Airbnb is, and maybe some of the OTAs have tried and failed, but I'm not to say Airbnb can't do it, is bringing together a marketplace that can connect their 4.3 million hosts that they have today to tech solutions that can help them run those businesses more efficiently, more profitably, provide a better guest experience, and for Airbnb, hopefully decrease the churn that they see on the platform, because that's, and something I see in my seat is like, yes, they've got an acquisition funnel of getting new hosts, new properties, but there's also a big hole at the bottom of the bucket where a lot of people churn out as they realize how hard it actually is to do this. And if they can solve that, make it easier, make it more efficient for people, I suspect they could have a much, much bigger business.
Yeah, I think early in my career, whenever Airbnb would make some broad, bold, big statement, it was like, oh man, they're going to take out this or that or the other. But they're bigger now than ever, and they're unwinding experiences, which is about as close to accommodations as they're going to get. They're matching an experience or a place with a guest or a traveler. Now, for them to get into the PMS world or the noise monitoring world or the big data world, they're just not. It's an entirely new business. So if you're hearing this for the first time, that statement, don't freak out. A lot of this is signaling to the market. They have to continue to tell stories to the market so the market stays engaged and holds their stock and drives the value up. But it will. Now, that said, they can take pieces out. Pricing, as an example, they should be able to price everything very, very well. But they don't, because there is no trust that Airbnb is pricing it the right way. Everyone knows Airbnb is pricing it in a way that Airbnb is going to get the booking. Yeah. I've had companies tell me they've run kind of comparisons of self-pricing using Airbnb's tools and using other tools in the industry. And Airbnb is consistently 15% lower than the other two cohorts. So it's going to be self-serving, whatever they end up doing, which doesn't create a whole lot of trust. Now, to Jamie's point with creating an ecosystem that makes it friendly for everyone to use the products that keep the stickiness around for Airbnb, that's a big, big ask. I don't think they're up for it, quite frankly. And their focus has always been on the single host, at least publicly. And so I think it's a big stretch to say they're going to jump in and start helping the ecosystem create more stickiness as a whole.
I will say, with the recent updates that they did to the platform opening up rooms, and then of course fixing their pricing side on the host side, so making it really easy to discount and to do this and to do their rates internally. You're 100% right on the self-serving. Like, they want the lower rates to get to get more bookings. They're going to open up rooms because it's going to open up kind of that, maybe like Jamie was saying, that big like leak in the bucket is that people are hosting these homes, whether they're investment properties, second, vacation homes, or even just their current primary resident. And they're realizing how hard it is to do a whole home. Maybe rooms will open up I can, my roommates are moving out. I have, some spare space in my house. I could subsidize my mortgage or my rent or whatever it is, in that way. But when it comes to the ecosystem, one thing I don't think we have seen slow down within short-term rentals is the amount of tech being built or created, whether there's already products out there on the market. You can take pricing, you could take guest communication, which is a huge one. Everyone's seems to be coming up with a property management software or some type of guest app to get in front of the guest and to create a traveler experience and blah, blah, blah. But so I don't think the ecosystem is going to slow down. I think maybe with AI, I'm more interested in what Brian was talking about in This Week in Startups with Jason on AI and the personalization piece than I am anything else on the ecosystem, because I think, yeah, they're dropping experiences, but I think that will come back up and it'll be relaunched in a better way through AI. It was that they can't avoid it. Like, in my opinion, they can't. It's gonna have to come. If you want to get personalized and you want to get, the experiential piece, they're going to have to add more outside of the booking itself.
They can't avoid it because Airbnb was built by the sharing of the extra bedroom. So I do love that they are going to try and reemphasize that. And it does two things for Airbnb. One, we're staring down the barrel of another recession, and Airbnb was launched in a recession, where if you can open up your extra room and get a few more $100 a month, that helps massively for people that are hurting, that are unemployed, that inflation is eating away at their income. But with what that does is the next generation, the 20 to 30-year-olds now who've never rented out their properties yet, once they start renting it out and realize it's not that scary, then once they get a little older and have an income and buy a house, then it's a long play for Airbnb. They're not going to be making a ton of money off of spare bedrooms, but 5-10 years from now, when those people that were renting their spare bedrooms own houses or own second homes, that's when it will come back and really help them.
And I see it as, on experiences, they tried to take the playbook from private rooms and sort of how Airbnb got started, of using underutilized sort of space in your home or underutilized real estate, your second home, and say, hey, it's sitting there, you can start to earn revenue off of it. That makes sense to me, and that connected to millions of people. That doesn't hold for experiences, given that, and it's not like you just have extra time that you can leverage. And experiences actually take, like, you investing in and building a business around and giving people tours, doing all these things. And they tried to build experiences off of individuals and not partnering with the large tour operators, large companies out there. And I think they had a really hard time growing their supply of inventory for experiences. And that and it's very clear that they're pausing it. They're going to relaunch it at some point. And I think if they relaunch it, it would either be through an acquisition or through and it has to be a focus on how do they get the existing tours and operators and things that are being offered out there on the platform where they can be connected to the guests that are already on Airbnb.
Are they realizing that working with professionals is a better idea?
Or in some aspects, yes.
Okay.
I would expect that. I don't know that they have, but I would expect that they would need to.
Well, I was going to say, think about the tour operators. In my opinion, they're kind of the same as these independent hoteliers who, they love hospitality, but then add tech, add the operations, add all this into it, it gets really hard. And then you end up realizing you're doing a ton of other things that, you're not super passionate about. And I think these tour operators, one of those things is marketing. So what can they, by partnering with Airbnb, at the end of the day, as much as I, am very much a book direct fan and all this other stuff, you're gonna get the eyeballs. And I think that's going to take one thing off of your guys' plate as a tour operator, especially the local ones that, maybe they have a Google business page, but they don't have the, robust website and all the other stuff. They're going to be able to actually use this platform in a better way. So I think, it's a good marketing channel and opportunity for the tour operators in local cities. And yeah, if you're a host, don't create your own experiences like creating another business. Like, just partner up with the local ones that you can find and that you like. Try them out. That's like the fun part of this industry, right? So you get to travel and try cool things in your city.
So how about we jump into the large language models and AI and the impact that's going to have? Because I'll show my hand first of, I think it is going to make a big difference. I am very bullish in the way that I think Airbnb is going after it, that Brian was talking about with Jason Kalikanak's podcast, This Week in Startups, in calling out that we don't have a search problem, there's a matching problem. And I think there's a good chance Airbnb is going to go after moving from the Airbnb.com and sort of traditional search to the Match.com, and we're going to pair you. And we're going to pair you on both a type of trip, so location, experience, and who is the best host, what is the best type of property for you in that destination. And that they've started that with this latest release. And I don't know if you guys have dug into these profiles now that they're asking sort of the hosts for the rooms category to start filling out, and that you can start filling out as a guest too.
Favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some funny questions like Will, one for you. What is one thing you're obsessed with?
Oh, I wonder what. Podcasting.
So if you could get matched with a host that also loves podcasting, like, you're going to have a much better experience, right? And those type of things. And if they can do it at scale and have the trust built with guests and hosts that they're actually going to fill out that info, with the benefit down the line of you're going to get much better travel and lodging recommendations, I could see that being a big boost long-term and build incremental demand. I think they've already built incremental demand for short-term rentals with their I'm Flexible search platform. So they're already getting people comfortable with, I'm going to go to Airbnb and get recommendations on what to do, not necessarily just putting in my dates and location that I want to travel to. And that as AI helps expand this technology, that they're going to create trips that people didn't know that they want to take, and push people towards locations and properties that wouldn't have otherwise got booked, and sort of spread out overall demand, which, and for an industry that gets booked, and a disproportionate amount of nights get booked just during July and August, just during in certain locations, that's going to be a great thing for growing the industry.
I'm in the same boat, but Michael, do you have any thoughts before I jump in and also praise this move and conversation that they had on that podcast?
So I think there's a time and a place for it. When I travel for work, I care far less about where I'm going, what I'm doing. Does it have this, that, or the other amenity? I think my profile as a traveler for work is pretty easy to build. Now, my profile as a traveler on vacation, I like to think is a lot different, because each time I go somewhere, I want to do something different. I want to do something new. I want to go somewhere I haven't been. And I'm not going to give Airbnb all my data of every hotel I've stayed in, every city I've visited, every place I want to go. And I think this must have been 5 or 6 years ago at Res Fest, Home Away Verbo conference. But one of the things that was eye-opening to me, and I generally agree with it, when you're planning your big family vacation for the year, half of the fun is in the planning of it. It's in the where should we go and researching and learning about the areas that you might want to visit and reading what other people say about it and looking at videos and learning the history of it. The average person on their big annual vacation will spend 10 to 20 hours just kind of researching and getting to know the area and what to do in the area. I think using AI to tell people where to go kind of robs people of that. And I don't like it, to be quite frank. I like the journey as much as the actual trip. Now, I'll counter argue myself with the Paris syndrome. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Paris syndrome. Jamie, you have? Yeah. So, Will, the Paris syndrome is this experience of Japanese travelers to Paris, where they've had this grand idea, this grand image of what Paris is. And when they get there, it's utterly disappointing. It's not at all what they expected. It's extreme culture shock. They've built it up in their head for so long, planning and, hearing other people's fun trips. And then they get there and it's a total letdown. Now, I think that probably has more to say about Paris than it does about anything. I don't know if y'all have been there, but there is certainly elements of matching people and personalities. I think it's a bit scary for Airbnb to have that much data on what I like to do while I travel to match me with the place that I want to go. But it's my 2 cents.
So this is where I want to come in and say, you don't have to give them your past experience in travel. They're already going to have it. They're already going to be able to find it. It's already out there. Our data is everywhere already. The other part though, if I'm traveling for work, guarantee you won't find me on Airbnb. So that for myself, it's not going to be the place I'm going for booking. But when I'm on vacation, I don't want to do the 10 to 20 hours of research. So that's if I can get personalized recommendations based off stuff I already like, and maybe that's a little bit different than on what I'm used to, I'm in for it. I think what Jamie said with the personalization piece, that the match, that's going to be incredibly beneficial, because I think it's going to the average user on Airbnb itself, booking.com, if they go into this route, Expedia, anybody, I would love Expedia to have this kind of personalization piece when I'm booking my business travel or booking whoever. So I think it's going to save the traveler and the average consumer based off of kind of their profile and who they are already. What?
I think it's another thing that sounds cool, right? Match with somebody who thinks like you and walks like you and talks like you. But the reality is, Jamie, what percentage of properties are professionally managed on Airbnb?
16%.
16?
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of properties booked are professionally managed?
Maybe 21.
Okay, so lower than I thought. But
and that's of all the supply that's out there on Airbnb, because the listings that are professionally managed get a much lower percent of their share actually from property managers, because property managers have lots of distribution systems. If you looked at Airbnb's actual percent of their bookings that come from large property managers, I bet it's maybe 5 to 10%. It's a much smaller percent than you'd actually think.
Okay. Well, that negates my point then. Thank you for.
It supports the reason why, and you say it all the time, of why they focus on the individuals. It's because the vast majority of the individual hosts of bookings are coming from, and people booking with individual hosts and not with the large property managers.
Yeah. I think the point's still valid unless you're sharing a room. That I don't care the house that I'm going to, what music they like, what their profession is. Like that stuff doesn't matter to me at all,
Yeah.
unless I'm sharing a room in the house and then I want to like get to know the person. So I don't know. I think a lot of this is cool PR, but I don't know how this Match.com is gonna play out in real life.
I don't know. I think you're thinking too literally. They're not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, you've been matched based off of your music taste. Michael and Will both love the same artist. It's gonna be like that's that might be a public facing thing, but I think the data behind the scenes on the type of properties you stayed in, the type of trips, how length of stay, that type of data behind the scenes that is more like I don't know, not it's not public, but it's public, if that makes sense. I think that's the data that's going to be used for this like personalization piece. And it's going to go a little bit further than just Will and Michael like the same taste in music and listen to the same podcast on Spotify. But that's just my thought. And before
And
we move on, go ahead.
and just one other point I'll make is, and it's like almost 20% of available listings are private rooms. And in large cities, it's 35-40%. So I think and generally I underestimate the percent of both available listings on Airbnb and the amount of demand of people actually booking private rooms on the platform. Maybe because we so much think of the professional operators and that they're generally managing entire homes, and that this is a decent piece of Airbnb's business. It's a piece that has been and not growing as much as the other parts, so it's a lower percent of overall inventory. And if they can sort of change that, get people thinking about staying in private rooms again, that is inventory that Vrbo doesn't want. They've said they don't want it. So if they can create incremental demand for it, it's all going to be on their platform. And if we do go into recession, and everyone's saying now that price is one of the biggest concerns when staying in lodging, and this gives at least a marketing way to say like, oh, if I want a cheaper alternative, I should go to Airbnb. Maybe I end up booking an entire room at the end, but you at least start your journey there because you think there might be a cheaper alternative.
Yeah, back to the beginning when everything was, $50 a night, $65, low cleaning fee, whatever it is, like back to the very OG days. So it makes sense. We are running a little over time, but we've been loving this new segment that we just started last week. Jamie, did you get to hear about our hospitality hotline?
I did. I had planned on calling in, but I didn't get around to it.
All good. You're a co-host of the show, so
if you're planning on calling in, get around to it, and we'll feature you next time.
Yeah,
I think everyone should get around to it with their question, though. We'd love to hear everyone's questions and comments.
Yes, we would love it. We have a couple in the mailbox or the invoice box now, but we're going to play one really quickly from Bill Faith. So Bill Faith is a podcaster inside the Hospitality FM network, but once we launched the hospitality hotline, he called in pretty quickly to ask us this question. So let's hear what he's got to say.
Hey, this is Bill Faith from Build Short-Term Rental Wealth and the STR Unfiltered podcast. The question that I have for you is in regards to hospitality. A lot of us think we're doing it very, very well. But what's the one thing that you three see that people think they're doing well in the hospitality industry, but they're really not?
It's a good question. So I'm curious to hear from you two first. If you have any thoughts, I know we're not all operators, and Brandy probably would be a really good person to have on right now, but at the end of the day, I would love to know what you guys think first before going into any like rabbit hole questions.
Yeah,
answers.
I think concentrating on what the guest is going to tell their friends about their stay with you. Like, you can have a great house, you can have easy check-in, but did you leave them something that's highly personalized? Did you have a face-to-face interaction with them that, they can share with their friends. I think a lot of hospitality now has been automated and unpersonalized, and there isn't a big takeaway of why stay with that property or why stay with that property management company or that hotel again. But if you can tie in these personal aspects, oh man, they set up the crib, they had diapers for us, there's baby food or whatever when you show up. Those things are what people talk about and tell their friends, and then drive repeat bookings or referrals.
How about you, Jamie?
First to mind for me comes to revenue optimization, and I think it's especially in the environment we're in today. It's not as much about lowering price during low demand periods or in times of increased competition than it is about raising price during peak periods and revenue maximizing then. And it's and more time and effort people spend on, one, learning the technologies out there to help you do it, and then two, setting that up and sort of the ongoing maintenance along with it, and I think pays back dividends.
That's a good one. My thing is, I think a lot of the short-term rental hosts side, the real estate investors, that type of crowd, I think the biggest thing is that they think they're doing a good service by doing like real estate photos, and like obviously, yeah, they're automating it and making it like really streamlined, but they're not personalizing. As kind of going into Michael's side, is like the photos are your typical like real estate listing photo. They're only in it for the real estate investment side. They're not in it for the hospitality. So they miss out on those personal touches. And I think as a traveler, whether it's vacation or work, I want to envision myself there. So when I'm envisioning myself there and I'm looking at real estate photos, I feel like I'm more looking to buy a house than to stay at a house. So I think little stuff like that, just focusing on experiential kind of descriptors and creating a brand instead of just putting it under a real estate investment group name or something like that. Like I think just having something simple, doesn't need to be a Marriott where you build out a whole ecosystem around you, but just creating a simple brand name or something like that can really go a long way and make it more of a hospitality experience rather than a real estate experience.
Yeah.
So
and I think last thought, this is where those single hosts, one or two properties, can really outshine and excel over the professional, 20, 50, 100 properties. At 100 properties, you can't know everything about the guests coming in. You just need to keep it clean, turn it over, hand over the keys. But those single owners, they can really have shining hospitality moments because they can take 5 minutes and do a little research on the guests coming in and make their stay extra special. So I know, Will, you had some chats over professionals versus single hosts over the weekend, and there's advantages to both, but you typically will have a better experience with a great single host than with a great property management company.
Which, on that conversation, not to extend the episode, but we are going to go into a live debate here in the short coming weeks on vacation rental manager versus STR host, and not a debate. We're going to keep it clean. I think there's a lot more in common than most people think. So hopefully we both see the different sides of the same coin and learn to get along as an industry collective. But anyways, I've had fun on this episode, and it's been cool to dive into this subject of AI and hear different opinions. I like this part of the whole podcasting thing. It's great conversation, great to hear different perspectives. So thank you both for bringing that up and kind of sharing your thoughts and insights. Speaking of, thoughts and insights, we're going to be able to share more together at Scale Rentals in Barcelona. So a big shout out to Damien Sheridan and the whole Scales team that is putting it on together. If you use our code GMH10, you'll get 10% off your ticket. So if anyone's looking to go still, you can still use that and save a little bit of money while we're at it. So wanted to give that shout out. And any closing thoughts from you two before we end this episode? We're a little over today, 10 minutes over almost.
Lots to talk about.
How about you? No comments? That was it? Jamie?
No comments. And I'm excited about Airbnb's earnings call tomorrow and all the other OTAs had great Q1 earnings. I suspect Airbnb will as well, and I'm interested to see sort of what they focus on when they give sort of forward guidance and what to expect for the year ahead.
Agreed. Well, maybe we'll do a broadcast or a recap next week. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned into the live. I know a lot of you are at guest eval, so if you are tuning in, I got a text from Michael Lester, who is the CFO of Cassiola, saying no GMH this morning, but he didn't see the live notification on LinkedIn. So we got him the link, all as well. And
We're
for
live.
everyone listening to the podcast, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, sharing. Make sure you call into the hospitality hotline, and we will see you all again next week.